It was a moment that should have been a celebration, a day filled with pride, excitement, and joy. Instead, it turned into a nightmare. The athlete stood at the edge of the event, heart racing, eyes scanning the crowd. He had worked his entire life for this, countless hours of training, sacrifice, and commitment. Today was supposed to be the day when all that hard work would finally pay off, when he would stand proud, the crowd cheering, the spotlight shining on him. But what was about to happen next would shock everyone. The event was a high-stakes competition, a chance for some of the most gifted athletes to show their skill. The stadium buzzed with anticipation. Fans filled the stands, eager to see the best of the best in action. It was an event that promised drama, that promised excitement, and this athlete, like all the others, had dreamed of being the one everyone talked about when it was all over. But instead, he became the talk of the event for all the wrong reasons. It was supposed to be an equal playing field, a competition where talent and determination decided the outcome. But what happened was far from fair. As the athlete made his way to the stage, a wave of whispers rippled through the crowd. Eyes followed him, some with admiration, others with a quiet judgment that he could feel weighing down on him. No matter how hard he tried to ignore it, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He had faced challenges before, but nothing like this. The event's organizers had always promised inclusivity, fairness, a space where all athletes, no matter their background, could compete on equal terms. Yet, from the moment he arrived, he felt the heavy burden of prejudice, the silent but unmistakable force working against him. It wasn't his skill they were questioning, it wasn't his dedication or his drive. It was something deeper, something far darker: his identity. His very presence seemed to unsettle those who had been in control for so long. What followed next was a public shaming, a moment of humiliation that took everyone by surprise. The athlete, who had spent years proving himself, who had bled for every victory, was suddenly put under a microscope in front of thousands. The crowd went silent as the weight of the moment hit. He stood there, unsure whether he should defend himself or simply walk away. But that's when something truly unexpected happened. The athlete, despite the harshness of the situation, stood tall. He didn't cower, he didn't fold under the pressure. Instead, he did something that no one could have predicted, something that would change the course of everything that followed. But what was it? Was it a moment of defiance, of strength, or was it something else entirely? Stay tuned, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The tension that follows will challenge everything you thought you knew about fairness, justice, and the power of standing up for what's right. What happens next is more than just a redemption story, it's a game changer. The athlete's heart pounded in his chest as the crowd's whispers grew louder, filling the air with a buzz of judgment and uncertainty. He had been in high-pressure situations before, but nothing like this. He could feel the eyes of the world on him, scrutinizing every move, every breath. He had worked so hard to get to this moment, and now, it felt like everything was slipping away. But despite the unease creeping into his mind, he refused to let it break him. There was too much at stake. He wasn't going to let them see him falter. Backstage, his coach was pacing, his face twisted with frustration. It was clear that things had taken a turn for the worse, but what could they do? The world had already started to judge him, even before the first race had begun. What had started as an event to showcase the best athletes in the world had turned into something much darker. The athlete wasn't just being shamed because of a mistake or failure in the competition. No, it was something more insidious. It was about who he was, his background, his identity, the way he looked. The athlete's coach had been with him for years, guiding him through grueling training sessions, late-night talks about perseverance, about never backing down. But even he couldn't prepare for what was happening now. The tension in the air was thick, palpable. It wasn't just the event organizers who seemed rattled by the athlete's presence, it was the other competitors as well. Some seemed uneasy, as if they didn't quite know how to react. Others appeared almost hostile, their eyes filled with suspicion, as though he didn't belong. The athlete knew the system wasn't perfect, but this felt like something deeper, something personal. For months, he had heard the quiet comments in the locker rooms, the undercurrent of doubt from those who thought he didn't deserve to be here. It wasn't about his talent, it was about his background. Huawei's latest Mate 70 smartphone series has garnered attention, particularly with the release of the Kirin 9020 chip, which powers the Mate 70 Pro Plus model. However, a teardown analysis by TechInsights suggests that the new processor is not a significant departure from previous generations, especially in light of the industry's expectations surrounding Huawei's progress in chip development. The Kirin 9020 does not demonstrate major advancements compared to its predecessors, which could indicate that the company's in-house chip development is still facing substantial limitations due to the ongoing impact of U.S. sanctions. The Kirin 9020 chip shares similarities with the previous Kirin 9000S and 9010 chips, with only slight enhancements, including a 15% increase in die size. This might suggest that Huawei is utilizing chiplet technology, a design strategy that can help circumvent some of the manufacturing challenges imposed by sanctions. This design approach allows the use of smaller, less advanced manufacturing processes while still offering some degree of performance enhancement. While this design innovation could be seen as a strategic move to address semiconductor limitations, it does not represent a major leap forward for Huawei's chip technology. The industry had hoped that Huawei would introduce a more powerful processor with the Mate 70 series, especially after the surprise inclusion of a 7nm chip from China's Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, SMIC, in last year's Mate 60 series. Analysts and tech enthusiasts were looking for a potential breakthrough in Huawei's semiconductor capabilities, but the Kirin 9020 does not seem to fulfill those expectations. Some Chinese social media platforms had even celebrated the 9020 as a fully homegrown chip, with claims of a 30% performance improvement over the previous 9000 and 9010 chips. However, the teardown report casts doubt on these assertions, as the 9020 appears to be a modest upgrade at best, built on the same 7nm process used in the 9010. Further complicating matters for Huawei, the U.S. government has intensified its export controls on China's semiconductor industry, adding more Chinese firms to its trade blacklist. This includes a ban on sales of high-bandwidth memory chips to China, aimed at preventing the use of U.S. core technology for military advancements. These sanctions are likely to make it even more challenging for Huawei to gain access to the advanced semiconductor manufacturing technologies needed to produce next-generation chips at the leading edge. As for the Mate 70 series commercial prospects, the launch is expected to face challenges. Analysts project that the Mate 70 will likely fail to match the demand generated by the previous Mate 60 series. This is primarily due to the less impressive processor performance of the Mate 70 and the ongoing geopolitical uncertainties that affect Huawei's supply chain. TechInsights forecasts that Mate 70 sales will reach about 3 million units in the fourth quarter of 2024, which would account for approximately 22% of Huawei's total smartphone shipments during that period. Overall, the Mate 70 series is expected to ship more than 10 million units over its lifecycle, according to Counterpoint Research. Additionally, the Mate 70's global appeal may be further limited due to its reliance on Huawei's proprietary HarmonyOS Next, which does not support Android apps. This operating system, while developed with the goal of reducing Huawei's dependence on US technology, presents a significant hurdle in markets outside China, where Android's app ecosystem is dominant. Without access to popular Android apps, the Mate 70 series may struggle to attract international consumers, especially those who are accustomed to the Google Play Store and other Android services. In summary, while the Huawei Mate 70 series and its Kirin 9020 processor showcase some incremental improvements, the device's overall performance and appeal remain constrained by the company's ongoing challenges with US sanctions, limited access to advanced semiconductor technology, and the lack of support for Android apps. These factors are likely to hinder the Mate 70's success both in China and in international markets, making it a more niche product compared to its competitors. Tablets have come a long way, evolving from niche devices to full-fledged productivity machines with processing power rivaling that of many laptops. The most powerful tablets on the market today are built around high-performance processors, with Apple leading the way thanks to its custom-designed chips. Here's a look at the top 10 most powerful tablet processors based on their Geekbench single-core scores, ranked from 10th to 1st. The A12 Bionic debuted in 2018 in the iPhone XS series and was later used in the 3rd-gen iPad Air and the 5th-gen iPad mini. With a 6-core CPU and 4-core GPU, the A12 Bionic introduced Apple's Neural Engine for the first time in iPads, providing a significant boost in performance over its predecessors. It scored 1,325 points in Geekbench's single-core test and 2,945 points in multi-core, marking a substantial improvement over older chips like the A8X used in previous iPad models. The A12X Bionic, introduced alongside the 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pro in late 2018, took things a step further with 2 additional CPU cores and 3 more GPU cores compared to the A12 Bionic. This led to 35% better single-core performance and up to 90% better multi-threaded performance. The A12X scored 1,329 in single-core and 4,635 in multi-core, while the A12Z, which introduced a new 8-core GPU and was used in 2020's LiDAR-equipped iPad Pro, was slightly faster with scores of 1,333 and 4,668, respectively. Google's Tensor 2, used in the Pixel tablet and other Pixel devices, has become known for its AI and machine learning optimizations, although it doesn't quite match the raw power of Apple's chips. While not designed specifically for tablets, its performance has impressed, particularly in areas involving AI and image processing. It's not in the same league as Apple's chips but still offers strong performance for tasks like photo and video editing on tablets. The A13 Bionic, featured in the 2019 iPhone 11 series, brought significant gains in performance over the A12 series. This chip is used in the 8th and 9th generation iPad models and offers a notable improvement in both single-core and multi-core performance. The A13 scored 1,335 in Geekbench's single-core test and 3,587 in multi-core, making it a very capable processor for most tablet tasks. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, used in high-end Android tablets like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 series, comes with an updated architecture for more efficient power usage and better performance. It delivers strong results, with Geekbench scores in the 1400 range for single-core and 4700 plus for multi-core, which brings it close to Apple's A14 Bionic. The A14 Bionic was introduced in 2020 with the iPad Air, 4th generation, and iPad Pro, 2021. Featuring a 5nm process, the A14 brought significant improvements in power efficiency and performance compared to its predecessor. It scores 1,580 in single-core and 4,200 in multi-core, providing an excellent balance of power and efficiency. The A15 Bionic, used in the iPad mini, 6th Gen, and the iPad, 9th Gen, offers an even better performance boost over the A14. It features a 6-core CPU and a 5-core GPU, enabling the iPad to handle more demanding tasks such as video editing, gaming, and multitasking. Geekbench results show that the A15 achieves 1,650 in single-core and 4,550 in multi-core, making it one of the most powerful chips on the market for tablets. Apple's M1 chip, introduced with the iPad Pro, 2021, brought desktop-class performance to tablets. With an 8-core CPU and 8-core GPU, the M1 delivers a huge leap in both processing and graphics power compared to previous iPad chips. Geekbench scores show a single-core performance of around 1,700 and multi-core results approaching 7,500, putting the M1 on par with Apple's MacBooks and making it one of the most powerful tablet processors available. The M2 chip, launched with the 2022 iPad Pro, takes everything the M1 did and improves on it. With an 8-core CPU and 10-core GPU, the M2 provides more raw power for intensive tasks like 3D rendering and video production. Geekbench scores show a single-core performance of 1900 and multi-core results of around 8200, making it one of the most powerful processors ever seen in a tablet. The M4 chip, expected to debut in future iPad models, is set to further push the boundaries of tablet performance. While exact specifications aren't confirmed, early benchmarks and rumors suggest that the M4 will be faster than the M2, with anticipated improvements in both single-core and multi-core performance. Given Apple's track record with its chip development, the M4 could easily outperform the current generation of processors and solidify Apple's dominance in the tablet market. The Nothing Fold 1 could potentially shake up the folding phone market, positioning itself as a game-changing device in a segment that has seen significant advancements but still struggles with issues like high prices and limited excitement. Nothing, the London-based startup known for its unique design and software-focused approach, has already disrupted the smartphone space with the Phone 1 and Phone 2, garnering a loyal fanbase and increasing attention in the tech world. With their new venture into the foldable market, the Nothing Fold 1 could be the innovation the industry has been waiting for. Unlike other foldable devices, which have become expensive and, at times, lack the software experience to match their hardware, the Nothing Fold 1 promises to address both issues. The phone would feature the highly anticipated Nothing OS 3, a system known for its efficiency and smooth user experience. In terms of hardware, the device would sport two screens, a 6.5-inch outer screen for quick tasks and an 8.37-inch foldable inner display for a full tablet-like experience. One of the most unique aspects of the design is the glyph interface, which offers a dynamic monochrome ticker tape display running along the spine of the phone. This third screen could revolutionize the way notifications are delivered, making the phone not just functional but visually exciting. The Nothing Fold 1 wouldn't just impress with its design. It packs significant technical power as well. With a MediaTek Dimensity 9405G chip, the device would feature an 8-core CPU, a 12-core GPU, and an NPU, neural processing unit, to enhance AI-driven tasks. Paired with a 5500 mAh battery, users could expect a full day's worth of use, thanks to the chipset's power efficiency. The phone would also come with 5 cameras, ensuring versatile photography options. There's a main shooter, an ultra-wide lens, and a telephoto/macro lens on the back, along with additional front cameras for a total of 5 sensors that allow for excellent image capture across various scenarios. The Nothing Fold 1 aims to stand out in more ways than one. It carries forward the sleek, transparent aesthetic that Nothing's phones have become known for, with a premium metal outer structure and glass front and back. The phone would measure just 6.3 mm thin when open, and while slightly thicker at 14 mm when closed, including the camera bump, the device would maintain an ultra-slim profile that's far more pocketable than many foldable phones on the market today. The integration of wireless charging and the minimalistic glyph interface adds a touch of sophistication, while ensuring that the phone retains the user-friendly, eco-conscious appeal Nothing is known for. The cameras on the Fold 1 would follow a new layout, designed to complement the phone's unique form factor, with the lenses arranged in a way that aligns with the phone's corner. This design could make the device stand out as a true flagship in the foldable phone category, one that doesn't just replicate the typical iPhone-inspired layouts of past Nothing devices but embraces its own identity. With this in mind, the Fold 1 could carve out a niche for itself as a foldable that appeals to users who want something different, stylish, affordable, and innovative. Speaking of affordability, this is where the Nothing Fold 1 could make a significant impact. While the latest foldable phones from Samsung, Huawei, and others can easily exceed $1,200, with some even hitting the $3,000 mark, nothing has the potential to offer a more accessible price point. If the Fold 1 is priced at around £799, $1,014, it could make foldable technology more accessible to a broader audience. This price point would not only challenge the current high-end foldable market but could also solidify Nothing as a major player in the foldable phone space, especially for users who are looking for a device with cutting-edge features but without the premium price tag. In conclusion, the Nothing Fold 1 has the potential to disrupt the foldable phone market, offering a balance of impressive hardware, exciting software features, and a more budget-friendly price point than many competitors. With its innovative glyph interface, robust processing power, and sleek design, it could be the device that redefines the foldable category and paves the way for the next generation of smartphones. If Nothing can keep the price accessible while delivering on these promises, it could be a game-changer in the folding phone market, perhaps even before Apple's rumored foldable iPhone makes its debut. Tablets have undergone a remarkable transformation since the launch of the first iPad in 2010. Initially viewed as a luxury gadget for entertainment, they are now widely used for productivity, content creation, and even as primary devices for many people. While smartphones and laptops still dominate the tech landscape, tablets have carved out a significant niche, offering portability, flexibility, and a balance of features that make them appealing for various uses. From watching movies to serious work tasks, modern tablets have become indispensable tools for those who want power and convenience in a compact form. In today's tablet market, which includes industry giants like Apple, Samsung, Google, and Amazon, the choices are plentiful, and finding the right one depends largely on your needs. Some users prioritize raw performance for professional work, while others might be more interested in budget-friendly options for casual browsing, streaming, and gaming. Znet's expert team of testers hands-on with multiple tablet models, putting them through a variety of real-world tasks from work and school assignments to entertainment and kid-friendly activities. After rigorous evaluation, the Apple iPad 10th generation emerged as the best all-around tablet for most users, earning high praise for its value, versatility, and impressive design. Priced at $349 after a $100 price reduction, the iPad 10th generation offers the best value in Apple's tablet lineup, especially considering the range of features it includes. For users who don't need the premium features of the iPad Pro or iPad Air, this model provides a solid alternative. The device's 10.9-inch Liquid Retina display is a standout feature, offering vivid colors and clear details that make both work and play enjoyable. The True Tone technology further enhances the display by adjusting the color balance to match the ambient lighting, ensuring an optimal viewing experience in different environments. Apple's approach with the iPad 10th generation is to provide a versatile, entry-level tablet without sacrificing core functionality. It shares many of the same features as the more expensive models, such as compatibility with Apple's expansive ecosystem of apps, services, and accessories, including the Apple Pencil, 1st generation, and Smart Keyboard. Despite being a base model, the iPad is fully capable of handling tasks such as web browsing, document editing, media consumption, and even light video editing or photo manipulation. Whether you're a student, professional, or casual user, this tablet meets the basic needs of just about anyone. In terms of design, the iPad 10th generation offers a lightweight, portable form factor that makes it easy to carry around. While it may not be as slim as the iPad Air or as premium feeling as the iPad Pro, it strikes a perfect balance for those looking for a reliable tablet at an affordable price. This model also breaks away from the usual color options of space gray and silver, offering additional colors like pink, blue, and yellow, which adds a touch of personalization and appeal to different tastes. For users who require more power, the iPad Pro models are still the go-to devices, especially for those in creative fields such as graphic design, video editing, or animation. The iPad Air, on the other hand, serves as a middle ground, offering many of the features of the iPad Pro at a more affordable price point. However, the iPad 10th generation caters to the majority of people who don't need the high-end features of the Pro and Air models, but still want a tablet that can handle most tasks efficiently. The iPad's rich selection of apps is another reason it stands out in the tablet market. With access to the App Store, users have a vast array of apps for virtually every task, whether it's professional productivity tools like Microsoft Office and Adobe Creative Cloud, educational apps, or entertainment services such as Netflix and Spotify. The integration with iCloud also ensures seamless syncing across Apple devices, so users can easily move between their iPhones, MacBooks, and iPads without any hassle. Battery life is another essential consideration, and the iPad 10th generation performs admirably in this regard. With up to 10 hours of battery life on a single charge, this tablet ensures you can work, browse, or play for extended periods without constantly searching for a charging outlet. This makes it especially useful for on-the-go professionals, students, and travelers who need a reliable device for all-day use. Despite its budget-friendly price, the iPad 10th generation doesn't skimp on quality. It continues to receive praise for its build, performance, and overall value, making it one of the most well-rounded tablets available today. For users who need a tablet for general tasks, whether it's for work, entertainment, or personal use, this model is the ideal choice. It's about what's been happening behind the scenes. About the forces working to keep certain people in check. And it's time you all knew the truth. The room fell into stunned silence. No one had expected this. The athlete's mind raced, his thoughts tangled with confusion. What was he talking about? What was going on? The rival continued, his eyes locking with the athlete's. You think this is all a coincidence, don't you? The race, the pressure, the media circus? It's all part of the plan. They didn't want him to win. They never did. The rival turned slightly, speaking directly to the reporters, to the cameras. This whole situation isn't just a series of unfortunate events, it's orchestrated. The sponsors, the organizers, they've all been pulling strings. They don't want someone like him on top. They want someone they can control. Someone who fits the image they've created. The words hit the athlete like a slap in the face. He had been suspicious of the way things were playing out, but hearing it now, laid bare in front of the world, left him reeling. Was this the truth? Was his entire journey, his struggle, just part of a larger, darker plot? The rival's words felt like a betrayal, but also a revelation. A chilling realization settled in. Everything had been rigged. His every move, every decision had been manipulated by the very people who should have been supporting him. He glanced at his coach, who stood off to the side, clearly caught off guard by the rival's sudden appearance and bold accusations. The coach's face was unreadable, his posture stiff, as if he had been forced into this strange, new reality without any warning. The athlete's mind was racing, but he couldn't make sense of it all. Was it possible? Was the entire system corrupt? Had he been set up from the beginning? The rival smiled as the room fell silent again, clearly enjoying the chaos he had unleashed. You think I'm just here to cause drama? No. I'm here to open your eyes. The real story is bigger than any race. It's about power. It's about control. And right now, they're trying to control you all. They're trying to control him. The athlete felt a wave of emotions crash over him: anger, disbelief, but also a creeping sense of dread. Could everything he had worked for really have been a lie? The stakes had just been raised to a level he never imagined. The whole system, the sport, the sponsors, the media was now something he could no longer trust. His rivals weren't just competitors on the track, they were part of something far more sinister. And the truth, if it even was the truth, had just been thrust into the open in the most shocking way possible. The press conference had turned into something entirely different. It wasn't about the athlete anymore, it was about the conspiracy the rival had just hinted at. The journalists were no longer asking the athlete questions, they were asking him. They wanted answers. They wanted to know if he knew about the so-called powers that the rival spoke of, if he was aware of the manipulation, if he was just another puppet in a system designed to keep him in check. The questions bombarded him from all sides, and the athlete felt trapped, cornered. He wanted to scream, to tell them everything he knew, but the words wouldn't come. The weight of it all was suffocating him. "How long has this been going on?" a reporter shouted. "How deep does this go?" The athlete opened his mouth to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. He had never anticipated this. He had never been prepared for something like this. The rival's words echoed in his head, growing louder and more insistent. "They never wanted you to win. It was all rigged." He didn't know who to trust anymore. His coach, the event organizers, the sponsors, they all seemed to be part of the web that was slowly suffocating him. And now, standing in front of him, the one person who had always been the source of his competition, was claiming to know the truth. Just when it seemed like everything was falling apart, another voice broke through the chaos. A new figure, a powerful, well-dressed individual, stepped into the room, their presence commanding immediate attention. They were part of the event's management, someone who had kept a low profile until now. And with one simple move, they picked up where the rival had left off, sending the room into an even deeper frenzy. This person wasn't just a witness, they were someone with the power to expose everything. The audience sat on the edge of their seats, each passing second adding fuel to the fire. The athlete's fate, and the future of everything he had worked for, hung in the balance. The room fell into a stunned silence as the new figure, an executive from the event's management, stepped forward, their demeanor cool and calculated. The athlete's heart raced in his chest. For a moment, he thought he might collapse under the pressure of it all. The rival's accusations still echoed in his mind, their weight heavier than anything he had ever experienced. Was it true? Had he been nothing more than a pawn in a larger game? A game where his victory didn't matter as much as the narrative they wanted to create? The executive's eyes swept across the room, locking onto the rival first, then the athlete. They held the microphone with a sense of finality, like someone who was about to end this madness once and for all. The tension in the air was unbearable, and every eye in the room was focused on them, waiting for what came next. The athlete could feel the eyes of the world on him, every moment adding to the pressure. The executive cleared their throat before speaking, their voice calm but with an underlying tension. "There are things you all don't know. Things that have been kept from the public for a very long time. It's time you understood just how deep this goes. The athlete standing here today has no idea what he's truly caught up in. And frankly, neither do you," they said, addressing both the rival and the reporters, their gaze moving from one to the other. The athlete's mind was spinning. What was this? Was this the moment of truth? Or was it yet another layer of manipulation? "Let me make it clear," the executive continued, "what's been happening over the last few weeks, the scandal, the shaming, and even the so-called fix on the race. All of it was orchestrated. But it wasn't orchestrated by us," they said, gesturing to the event's management team. "It was orchestrated by someone much bigger. Someone who has been controlling the sport behind the scenes for years." The executive's eyes flicked toward the rival. "And I'm sure you'll be surprised to learn that your involvement in this was never about protecting the system, it was about maintaining your place in it." The room was now a whirlwind of questions and murmurs, but the executive held up their hand to silence everyone. "This isn't about who wins the race," they continued, "this is about controlling the narrative. We've been feeding you all a story that fits their agenda. And now it's time for that agenda to be exposed." They turned to the athlete, who stood frozen, caught in the web of this shocking revelation. "You were the anomaly. You were the one person who refused to be controlled, who refused to play the game the way they wanted." The athlete was stunned. He had always known something wasn't right. He had felt the pressure, the eyes on him, but to hear it all laid bare in front of him, it was too much to process. The world he thought he knew had been a lie, a fabrication designed to keep him and others like him marginalized. But why now? The athlete finally managed to ask, his voice shaky. Why expose this now? What's the point? The executive paused, glancing at the rival who was now visibly sweating, his facade of confidence cracking. Because the true powers behind this game are losing control, the executive explained. There's a shift happening. The public is starting to question everything. Sponsors, the media, even the athletes' people are waking up to the reality that this industry has been rigged. And they're no longer willing to play by the rules that have kept them on the sidelines. As the executive spoke, the rival shifted uncomfortably, clearly aware that the narrative was slipping out of his hands. His usual composure was gone, and for the first time, the athlete could see the cracks in his carefully crafted persona. He wasn't the invincible rival anymore. He was just another piece in a larger game. The athlete's thoughts were racing. This was more than just a fight for his career, it was about exposing a system built on manipulation, deceit, and control. He had no idea how deep it all went, but he was beginning to realize that he had been fighting for the wrong reasons. This wasn't just about proving himself on the track, it was about something much bigger than that. The truth was more powerful than any victory he could have imagined. Just as the athlete began to process the enormity of what had been revealed, a final, unexpected twist shook the foundation of everything he thought he knew. The executive turned their gaze back to the athlete, their voice low and serious. I wasn't just here to expose what happened, they said. I'm here to offer you a choice. The choice to join us. The athlete blinked, his mind struggling to comprehend. Join you? He repeated, confusion clouding his thoughts. Yes, the executive said with a cold smile. You've already proven you can't be controlled. You've fought against the system. Now it's time to take control of it. You can become part of the new narrative. The old powers are crumbling, and we need someone like you. Someone who has the potential to reshape this entire sport. The athlete felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't what he had expected. He had thought that the truth would set him free. That exposing the manipulation would be the end of it. But now, it felt like the stakes had been raised to a new, terrifying level. The very people who had tried to control him were now offering him a place at the table. They wanted him to join them. To be part of the very system he had spent his entire life fighting against. The room grew eerily quiet as the athlete's thoughts spun in every direction. The rival, no longer in control of the narrative, watched with growing anxiety. The reporters looked on, waiting for the athlete's response. The athlete knew he stood at a crossroads, a decision that would change the course of his life forever. But there was one thing he knew for sure. No matter what choice he made, the story was far from over. As he opened his mouth to respond, a loud crash from behind them caused everyone to turn. The doors to the conference room burst open, and a group of unknown individuals stormed in, their presence commanding attention. These weren't just security guards or staff, they were agents, and they were here for a purpose. The tension in the room skyrocketed, the athlete's heart hammering in his chest. The final twist was here. And the athlete had no idea who was truly pulling the strings. The room erupted into chaos as the mysterious figures barged in, their heavy footsteps echoing across the marble floor. The reporters scrambled, some pulling out their phones to record, others trying to get out of the way. The athlete's heart pounded in his chest. Who were these people? What was happening? The situation had spiraled beyond anything he could have imagined, and now, with the executive's cold offer still hanging in the air, he was left to decide not just his future, but the future of everything he believed in. The strangers in the room, dressed in dark suits, didn't seem concerned with the press. They moved with an air of authority, their eyes scanning the room with military precision. The executive looked unfazed, almost as if they had been expecting this. The athlete's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the puzzle that had been placed before him. Was this part of the plan? Was he being pulled in deeper, or was this the moment where everything unraveled for good? One of the figures stepped forward, their gaze locking with the athlete's. Their expression was unreadable, their presence commanding. Without a word, they motioned for the athlete to follow them. The room was filled with the sound of the reporters shouting questions, but the athlete couldn't focus on them. His mind was spinning with the implications of everything that had just happened. He was being pulled in different directions, each path leading to an unknown future. The executives stood silently, watching the scene unfold. They didn't seem worried, not even when the athlete hesitated. "Don't worry," they said, their voice smooth. "This is all part of the transition. You have to understand that there are bigger forces at play here. Bigger than anything you've ever imagined." The athlete's legs felt heavy as he followed the figures toward the exit. He glanced back, unsure if he was making the right decision. What if this was a trap? What if he was walking straight into something darker than he had ever realized? They led him down a narrow hallway, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. The athlete's thoughts were still racing, but now they were filled with more questions than answers. Who was behind this? Who had orchestrated everything, from the race to the press conference, to the rival's sudden appearance? And why had they chosen him to be part of it? At the end of the hallway, the doors to a small, private room opened. The figures gestured for him to enter. Inside, a large table dominated the center of the room, surrounded by several other people, all seated in silence. The air felt thick, like something important was about to be revealed. Without speaking, the athlete sat down at the table. The figures who had escorted him remained standing, waiting for the others to begin. One by one, the people at the table turned their attention to him, their eyes cold and calculating. It was clear that they were all part of this plan, this intricate web that had been spun around him, pulling him in deeper with every move he made. A woman at the head of the table finally spoke. Her voice was firm, yet calm, as though she had already anticipated every question that might come. "We've been watching you," she said, her gaze piercing through the athlete. "From the moment you entered the sport, we saw your potential. We saw that you could break free from the mold they had placed you in." The athlete's mind raced. Who was this woman? And why did it feel like she knew him better than he knew himself? "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice hoarse from the weight of everything that had happened. "We want you to help us change the system," the woman replied. "The system that's been rigged against athletes like you for far too long. You've been manipulated, just like all the others, but you have the power to bring about real change. It's time for the truth to come to light, for everything to be exposed." The athlete shook his head, still trying to process what was happening. He had always thought that winning on the track would be the ultimate validation. But now, he was being offered something far greater, something far more dangerous. "I don't know if I can trust you," he admitted, his voice trembling with uncertainty. "I don't know if I even know who's on my side anymore." The woman's expression softened, but only slightly. "We're on your side," she said. "We've been watching the way you've been treated, the way they've tried to break you. But they underestimated you. And now, it's time to turn the tables." The athlete was silent for a long moment, his thoughts colliding with the reality of what he was being offered. He had spent so many years running for approval, for validation. But now, it seemed that the validation he had sought was nothing more than a tool to keep him in line. The truth was far more complex and far more dangerous than he had ever realized. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "that all of this, the races, the sponsors, the media, it's all been a game? And now you want me to play the game with you?" The woman's lips curved into a faint smile. "It's not just a game. It's a revolution." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the athlete felt a flicker of hope. But it was quickly overshadowed by doubt. He had been manipulated before. He had trusted the system, and look where it had gotten him. Could he really trust these people? Could he risk everything to tear down the system that had defined his entire life? Before he could voice his next question, the door to the room opened again. The figure from earlier, the one who had brought him here, stepped in with a tablet in hand. "The press conference," they said, addressing the woman. "It's all over the news. The public is watching. They want answers." The woman nodded. "Good. Let them watch. Let them see the truth unfold." The athlete stood up abruptly, his mind still whirling. He needed to make a decision, but how could he? Everything he had worked for, everything he had believed in, was being ripped apart in front of his eyes. And yet, there was something inside him, a flicker of defiance that refused to go quietly. Maybe this was his chance to finally take control of his own destiny, to stop being a pawn in a game he hadn't even known he was playing. He turned toward the woman, his voice firm. "I want to know everything. I want to know who's really behind this. I want to know who's been controlling me." The woman met his gaze, a look of approval crossing her face. "We'll tell you everything," she said. "But first, you need to make a choice. Do you want to be part of this change? Or do you want to go back to being the athlete they molded you into?" The question hung in the air, the weight of it suffocating. The athlete's heart raced, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't sure which way to go. But then, as if the decision had already been made for him, a voice echoed in his mind. "You've been running your whole life. It's time to stop running." He looked at the woman one last time. "I'm in." The room fell silent, and for the first time in a long while, the athlete felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. He had no idea where this path would lead, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was finally taking control. The woman smiled, and in that moment, the athlete knew that everything had changed. This was just the beginning of something far greater than he could have imagined. The journey ahead would be dangerous, uncertain, but for the first time, he wasn't afraid. The real race had just begun. And as he walked out of the room, ready to face whatever came next, he understood that the truth had always been the most powerful weapon. It was time to reveal it to the world.